Psychic medium Sarah Lemos joins Chaplain Jodi, that's me, on this special 5-part podcast series on Survivor Angels. We call it The Dance, celebrating the wisdom, strength, and beauty of aging. On this episode, we talk about the emotional landscape, resilience, and self-acceptance.
It's time for Survivor Angels, an approach to strengthen trauma survivors. Here, you can escape what draws negativity and engage your positive abilities and the gifts that you've always had. Let's activate your angels. And to help you on that journey, here's Chaplain Jodi.
Sarah, how's the emotional roller coaster going?
You know, I was really excited about this topic because for me, I've always struggled with emotional regularity. I've always struggled with, I don't know if struggled's the right word. I've just always been emotional. But it's different when it feels like you're out of control. And for me, that's how this type of emotional roller coaster can be every once in a while. As I sit down and was trying to peel back the layers of this, I'm a sensitive. So I'm always in my emotions, and I'm okay with always being in my emotions. But you kind of know the difference when you can't stop crying.
Right? Yes. I know. I'm an empath and a sensitive too. And when I'm least expecting it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. Heart, waterworks are going to start, whatever the case is, it's out of the blue, even though we know we do it.
Yeah.
But like you said, this is different.
Mm-hmm. It is different. It feels different. And I think, ladies that are out there that have experienced this completely understand it. And you do experience I feel the same type of energy right around your cycle. So it's like, it's just one thing might be missing every once in a while, but the emotions still remind you that you're still going through something. And, honestly, when I was thinking about dealing with these life changes and dealing with the emotions and things that we I think we look at emotion in a negative way. I think emotions, when someone says, "Oh, I'm emotional," people go, "Oh, it's a beautiful thing." Emotions are beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. And for some reason, through the change, it's even worse. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's like, what do you mean, oh, okay? Like, these are my emotions.
Yeah. Well, it's because then they associate it with trauma. If they didn't associate emotions with trauma before, they do once they know, oh, she's in that phase now.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh boy, let's get the applause meter out or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then too, I think a lot of times people don't realize there's a difference between feelings and emotions.
Okay.
Emotions are actually the physical response, where feelings are the mental response. Okay. I've always sort of had that flip-flopped, I think. I'm not sure. But when I read that again, I thought, well, yeah, that does make sense, especially now when we're talking about aging, that the emotions are the physical, because there's something there that happens, whether our stomach starts doing flip-flops or our heart starts racing, whatever the case is. And then the feelings are the mental piece that comes in response to the physical.
Wow. And even in that is it power. So it's like, okay. And I think knowing, the more we know, the more we understand, the more we accept. And it's like, So if I have this knowledge, then I can do something with it. And when I'm going through what we all go through, all of us go through, I can go, oh, it's okay. This is how it goes. It starts here and it's going to finish here, and we're going to ride this out, and we're going to be okay. We're going to make it through.
Exactly. I have a good friend who's a psychotherapist. We always joke that, I have a good friend who's a psychic medium. I have a friend who's a psychotherapist.
That's awesome.
And then I'm a preacher in there somehow.
That's beautiful in itself.
She was telling me, and I had to write this down. So if I refer to my notes here, it's because otherwise I would not have remembered all this. She said that as we age, we take on emotions that we didn't have when we were younger. And so, I mean, this one isn't necessarily that case, but deja vu is actually an emotion.
Oh.
Who knew that?
No.
I had no idea.
No, I had no idea.
Right? Would not have put it in that category at all.
No.
But there you go. So there's one. Then another one, she calls it ellipsism. And she said it's a term given to a sense of sadness that one experiences when realizing that one won't live to see the future. Sorry. So, for example, like for me, I might be sad because I won't get to see a great grandbaby or even another grandchild. Not that I think that'll probably happen. I think they're all done. But, maybe to see my first grandbaby. So that's what ellipsism is.
Okay.
And that, of course, would be as you get older, unless maybe you developed a terminal illness, then maybe that one might come up. That could be possible there.
That makes sense.
And then another one she said is chrysalism or chrysalism.
Okay.
I might get these pronunciations wrong because I'm not a psychotherapist. And she said it's a sense of warmth, peace, and tranquility when you are warm and dry inside the house during an intense rainstorm. That's the feeling. It's like that. This experience could be likened to feeling like you are back in the womb, and that's why it's been labeled chrysalism.
Wow.
Who knew? Okay, then there's adrenitis. Okay, this one. This is a sense of frustration experienced when meeting a new and interesting person, but realizing how long it is going to take to develop the relationship with them. And maybe, depending on your age, that time is shorter, or maybe you just realize we're not promised tomorrow, whatever the case might be. That's what adrenitis is.
That's incredible. So for it's again, knowledge is power. I feel I've always felt that knowledge is power, because even now understanding those 4 or 5 things, it takes it off my shoulders. I don't know how else to put that. It's like, okay, I have this knowledge. These are experiences. These are emotions experienced for said reasons. And if I was the only one, they wouldn't have written that up. So there's got to be a lot of other people out there that are going to go through these experiences and have gone through these experiences for them to have a meaning for each one of these.
Right. There's a couple. There's 2 more that I've got written down. One is liberosis. Man, these are, you can tell I didn't go to school for these. It's the desire to care less about things. It says, as we mature into adults, we take on more and more responsibilities. And so then, of course, as you age, then you get to this point of liberosis, and it's the feeling you get when you wish you could be a child again without cares and concerns. And so as we move through our topics here, that one will really sort of become more prominent.
Yeah. I think so. I think, like you were talking about, like, when we dived into this, you were talking about dealing with life changes and how we deal with the different life changes. I think you're right, because sometimes, I mean, I don't know about you, but as my kids aged, I kind of went through their ages. How do I put this? I emotionally went through at 9 years old, my son was 9 years old. I felt all the things or thought about all the things when I was 9 years old. So, as they've gotten older and older, it's like, and now out of the house, that was not easy for me.
Right.
I was a mom first. That you asked me what I did in any order. I always said I'm a mom. And then I would say, this is what I do for a living, but I'm a mom. And I remember, I'll never forget, the first time, one of my kids stubbed their toe and their partner helped them through it instead of mom. And I remember just feeling like this piece of me was just going away. And then when they both left the house, it was like, what is happening? Like, what is my meaning what is my meaning in life? Like, what is it? Because I don't know it anymore. And thank God I had some friends warn me and say, write down some activities that you can do. Seriously, Sarah, sit down, write things that you can do with your extra time before Chase leaves the house, before Hunter leaves. Have these written down. And thank God I listened. Because if not, that is a lot of empty time. That is a lot of, cooking differently. Like, seriously, you are used to cooking for 4, 5, 6 people, whatever. And now you're doing it for 2. Those little things, if you aren't ready, you guys, I am telling you, if you are not ready, it is like, what?
Right.
Like, who am I? Like, it's just a panic.
Yep. Well, and that you just to back you up a little bit, when you were talking about how, like, when Chase was 9, that you were back to when you were 9, you will do the same thing again with grandchildren.
Oh, really?
I have 9 grandchildren. The oldest will be 22 in January. The youngest one just turned, I have to do the math, turned 10 in November, and then we've got them in between. And every time one of them has a birthday, especially with the ones that fall on my side of the family, I go through, and the ones that are girls more so than the ones that are boys. Yeah. But yeah, so you will go through that again. But, or maybe I should say and, not a but. This is an and. I went through it differently as a grandmother. They call me Gammy instead of Grandma. So I'm Gammy to all of them.
I love that.
But this time when I went through them, or go through them, I should say, I think back to that time in my life with more joy. I don't see the negative things that maybe happened when I was that age. I see the positive things and how much fun there was and how much fun I had and who I was with. And then generally what I do is I will reach out to those people if I have any way of, contacting with them and say, do you remember? And then we'll reminisce about all this, which I know that makes me sound old, but I think it's pure joy to be able to do that.
Yeah.
To go back and revisit those times.
No, I think that's amazing. And I think that's where the magic is in getting older. I think the magic is saying, okay, how can I look at this in a different light? And how beautiful is that I have the opportunity to, because we can get caught in negative emotion. You get caught up in depression very easily. And switching the way we see things is the only thing that's ever worked for me. Choosing to see it differently. and sitting in that joy and marinating, if you will, in that energy versus well, I never got anything when I was a kid and I never done. It's like, wait a second. No, there was this time that, it's like, yeah, when you're sitting in it. I think too, though, like when talking about people, the kids leaving the house and stuff like that, it's these things that come up in our lives that are changing, that tell us we are getting older because our children are getting older, our grandchildren are getting older. Like that, you go, oh, wait a second, how old are you? Stop that. But I think too is like, what are you going to do with their room? Like, what are you going to do with, can you make it into a reading nook? Could you maybe bring up some of the younger pictures of your kiddos and put them on the walls? Like celebrating, letting this be a celebration that they are adults in adulthood. And now what are you going to do? Instead of, like I said, I was looking at it with, what am I going to do? Like, and then when that shifted to, wait, what am I going to do? Like, it changed everything for me. And yeah, the kids are more spoiled now than they've ever been. And honestly, and it's like, but when I changed the way I looked at it, it became something beautiful, versus something that was emotionally charged.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one thing we need to remind our listeners and our viewers of is you never stop being mom.
No,
You're always mom.
But in those times, it's like, where is it going? And you want to hold on as tightly as you can. And the harder you hold on, the worse the experience of moving forward in a joyful way, the harder it is. The more you hold on to that, it must look like this. It has to look like this. And just shifting that was very freeing for me.
Good. Yeah. I know it's the emotional roller coaster. That's exactly what it is. But like you said, it can be very manageable.
Yeah.
All right. So we have one more that she gave me, annulment. And that is, have you ever wished that you could go back in time and tell your past self about the future?
Wow.
Because that way, when you would get to that point in time, you wouldn't worry about it as much because you sort of had, it's sort of like a Christmas Carol and you get the foreshadowing of the future. Scrooge gets that. It's sort of that premise that, okay, look at here. Okay, now get yourself ready. It's not too late to change things. But I look at life as things happen the way they're meant to happen, because we're getting a gift in everything somehow.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah. And if I don't understand, and even in the past when I haven't understood what the gift is, I just sit with Raphael and I just say, show me the silver lining. Give me the silver lining. And it comes through. And then it's like, okay, this is what I didn't like. This is what I like.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think, it's okay to sit in your emotions. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to have feelings. It's absolutely okay to have feelings. It's okay to have both. But I think one thing that happens a lot when we're in our emotions is usually we're looking too far forward or we're looking back. And your neck is going to start to hurt if you keep looking behind you, if you keep looking in the rear view mirror. And so, for me, the one thing that stuck out that my dad has taught me is be here now. And I think in some of these circumstances that, you can get caught up in the emotion. Absolutely. You can get caught up in the feelings. Yep. And you can look backwards and you can remember and you can wish and you could hope. And you can wish and hope for the future, but the only thing we have is this moment, is this very moment.
Right.
And so coming back to being here now, I think is a great way to, one, regulate the emotions and experiences and come back to this space that you truly have, this moment.
Right. Without a doubt. There are patterns to our emotions. I'm just looking at my notes here. And of course, the positive emotions, we don't have a problem with those. We're like, yay, yippee, okay. But it's the negative ones.
Right.
And as we get older, I know for me, what I had to get past my struggle with is, why am I still having these negative emotions? I'm old enough. I've been through enough. I should be able to deal with this. I should be able to manage this.
Right.
What I have found for myself is that somewhere, somehow, I still have a little piece of something that's hanging on in here.
Okay.
A little piece of pain from something.
Okay.
Whether it was one time when somebody said something to me, one time when my ego was out of control and I got completely embarrassed by it, and all of a sudden that rears its ugly head going, why did you do that? And so I get mad at myself. I mean, just things like this. And so that's when I have to go in and do some shadow work to get rid of that pain, to work through it, to get myself to realize, yes, it happened. It's over and done. You can't go back and do anything about it. So now it is, how are you going to behave going forward? Because it's not about your emotions, it's about your behavior. But your behavior comes back and gets your emotions riled up.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Like, and we've all been there, and we've all had those experiences. And it's interesting how when we're in that moment, nobody else ever has. And I screwed up big, and look at what I've done. And, nobody else would ever do such a thing. And it's like, that's not true. But I think it is important, because we do a ruminate. We sit with something, and we think that if we sit with it long enough, it will get better. And sometimes it's just, oops. Like you said, what can I do now? And I think that's at any age, right? Like, it's like, but I do feel now that I'm in my late 40s, that I have a better understanding of that. And when I was younger, in my 20s, I didn't understand that. And I would ruminate on things much longer than I do now. So I will say this, I am grateful for that with my age, because that was horrible in my 20s, just sitting on, I don't know, even if I wore my shirt on inside out, or like somebody found that like my shoe was untied, like it could be the silliest thing, but like it would be like, oh, how embarrassing. And now I'm like, oh yeah, my shoe's untied.
Yeah, I know. I asked a good friend, I don't know, a few months back, I said, do you remember this situation that was incredibly embarrassing for me at the time? And it was about 20 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And she's like, what? I don't remember that.
Right.
And I was like, you don't? And she goes, no. And I'm like, okay, this is all me. But I think, like now at the age that I am, 70, you kind of start going back through, and you get those little blips that come up. I call them regrets. I shouldn't call them regrets. Nobody should call them regrets. It's called life. That's what it is, pure and simple. Yep. We've all done stupid things. We're doing fewer stupid things.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
The older we get. Yeah. But I'm starting to do that, to go back through. But it's getting less and less. And so right now, kind of the only things that pop up were for me, the bigger things. The littler things, no, I don't even remember them anymore, because now there's too many positive things that are coming back to me, which I would much rather think about those.
Absolutely.
But if it takes sort of rehashing those other ones to still take care of that pain, to heal that pain that is getting my emotions in a snit, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because once I've worked through it, then it should be like the other ones and should just subside.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important to all the ladies out there listening is that we all do it. Like, we're all doing this. Like, this is not like, but when you're in your own head and you're in your own body and you're having these experiences, you feel like you're the only one. Like, and that in itself feels dangerous to me, because then it's like me against the world. Like, it's, oh, silly Sarah. Oh, you did this, or, oh, you felt this way, or, oh, get your tissue again, Sarah. It's like, no, we're all going through this.
Right. For our listeners and our viewers out there, when I start, rolling through these emotions, first thing I do is I call in Archangel Michael.
Okay.
Protect me, from the harmful piece that I'm doing to myself. Stop me from doing that. I call on Chanuel for the emotional healing piece. Like I already mentioned, Raphael. Yeah, I'm thinking about this again. Raphael showed me the silver lining that evidently I haven't seen before, because it's still popping up here, And then probably would call on Zadkiel. I know I call on Zadkiel more often than what I realize sometimes, but Zadkiel will help me to discern what is really at the bottom of this emotion. Is it the memory, or is it maybe something that's going on now that I'm not even thinking about? I'm just, for whatever reason, associating it back to a memory. So Zadkiel is really good for that discernment and wisdom piece, I guess you could say, with Zadkiel. And I sometimes think that it just helps to just sit and talk to the angels. It's somebody to talk to. They're totally objective. You're not going to get any negative feedback from them. So you're safe with the angels. In the long run, they're our best friends.
That's beautiful. I think for me, when I'm in emotion, when I'm in deep emotion, I've learned some skills. And one of the things that I do is I get back into my body. Because I'm an empath, I tend to go, emotion, hot. And so I step back. And I've learned over the years that that's kind of just what I do. But if I want to be with the emotion, I have to actually sit with it. And so I have to be in my body. So I have to get back in Sarah. And so I get more into physical. And so I might list 5 different things around me that are red. So I'll look around and I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now 4 things that are purple. And I'll just look and just give it a minute, because what I'm doing is giving a rest in between the flood of emotion, the scary thoughts, or the thoughts that are bringing up the emotion. And so I'm giving myself some time and space. And other thing that I might do is I might feel something, physically feel something. So I might take my hand in my shirt and physically feel it, or run my fingers through my hair, and be in this moment where I'm physically feeling, not feeling, but feeling something is very helpful. And then also get into my breath. So this is also something that's always been there for me, is just breathe. Like 5 deep breaths. Josh will do this with me. He'll walk up to me. He'll see that I'm emotional. He'll go, is it time to breathe? And he'll turn me towards him, and we'll do 5 deep breaths together. We just breathe together. And so doing some of these things where you can allow yourself to settle, and so that you can meet the emotion versus run from the emotion, hide from the emotion, put boundaries up between you and them. Like, it's allowing it so that it can move through the body versus affect the body. And so these are some things that I personally use.
Right. Yeah. And with the breathing, I do the 4-7-8, where you inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, especially if I'm in a situation where I can't do something physical, like you were saying. So that helps to get your vagus nerve back regulated, to balance it out. And that's a huge contributor to your emotions being either in or out of whack.
Yes.
Whatever the case is. What I do physically, and I learned this from all the moms in my hometown growing up, all the housewives of the 50s and 60s had the cleanest houses ever. And it wasn't just because they had the time to do it. It was because that's how they worked through their emotions. I have learned that now as an adult, going back and having conversations with them. That's what they've said. Wow. Because a lot of them said, instead of having that martini at 5 o'clock, they would get the house clean, the laundry done during the day, everything out in the garden, outside working, so that by the time 5 o'clock came, they didn't want to drink. They were just tired and they just wanted to sit. I mean, they still probably had to get dinner on the table, but yeah. And so you're absolutely right. That physical piece is crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial. Yep. So plus if you can get outside and get yourself grounded. Absolutely. As part of the process.
That's a plus.
Yep, absolutely. I think one of the things too that we realize as we get older, and it comes to all of us at different points in time, is how resilient we really are. We find out that we really are stronger than what we think we are. And we just have to think back to all of the challenges and obstacles that we faced in our lives, and we got through them, maybe not glamorously,
right?
But we got through them. We survived.
Yeah.
We are survivors.
Yeah.
And that resilience is huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think this falls under emotions, because I'm just looking at a note that I have here, is as we get older, you're not to this yet. I'm really not, but it'll rear its head once in a while, is that you feel like you're starting to become invisible and irrelevant.
Oh,
I hear that from a lot of older people.
I've seen it so many times, and to me it's literally heartbreaking, and I will say that when I'm in a situation with some of my dear friends and they're talking about this, like, I will empower them immediately. As a sister, as a friend, I will empower. Like, it's like, I see you. And I think, that's something that we can, that I would employ, I would say to so many out there, if you see one of your friends, your fellow sisters going through a moment where they literally feel like they're not going to be hired because of their age. Like, I have sat with so many women in this, in what I do, and where they're like, no, you don't understand. I'm not going to get hired. I'm too old. And I'm like, try experienced. Like, I sit with them in it, and I honor them in it, and then I do my best to empower them immediately. And I think this is absolutely our society standards when it comes to women, how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to act. Yes, I'm going to say this. And then what it's supposed to look like out in the world. And I think that it can look different everywhere. But yeah, I have very much experienced this with a lot of my good friends, and watch them be hit with the emotions of it, and the reality to them that is true. And and all I can say is that I will empower any woman that I am with that ever feels that way.
Right. And what you're doing with them is exactly what needs to happen. But at the same time, to say to everyone out there now, all of you women who maybe are feeling this or fear that you're going to feel it, be in this position, you're in control. Maybe not of job hiring, but how you approach it. Like you said, I'm experienced. I have this many years experience over this 20-something year old, or even 30-something year old. And you celebrate what you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Yep. And the other piece is, don't let yourself sit home alone, if that's part of this piece too. Okay, your kids aren't calling you. They're not coming to visit. They have lives too. It doesn't mean they don't love you. Granted, could they do it more? Yeah, they probably could, but they're not. So go out, make your own circle of friends, take your hobbies out there. There's other people with the same hobbies, the same interests. Whatever the case might be, try something new, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah.
Start experiencing new things. They call it a bucket list. I call it an adventure list.
Yeah.
That's what Jeff and I call ours. It's an adventure list.
Yeah.
So it's like you are in the driver's seat. Granted, there are some things that are out of your control, but the majority of it is still in your hands.
Yeah.
It is still right there. The world is still waiting for you.
Yeah.
Is that a good place to stop for the emotions?
Yes. That was beautiful.
All right. Until next time, what are we going to talk about? Oh, facing mortality.
That's right. That's what's up next. Facing mortality. Yep.
Everybody, Sarah and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks again for joining Chaplain Jodi on Survivor Angels. For more information, go to chaplainjodi.me. That's chaplainjodi.me. And on Facebook at Survivor Angels-Chaplain Jodi. Sound effects for the show created by Andre Opate and provided by Pixbay. This is Dave Schrader. Until next time, sending you off to activate your angels.